everyone, this is Arlene. Thanks for joining me today. In this video, I will be sharing a tutorial on how I created this mini book. I'll be using the Birdsong collection by Graphic 45. And here's a look at the mini book that I created. So let's get started. I'm taking 8.5 by 11 sheets of black cardstock and I'm scoring them at 2.5 inches lengthwise. And these will be the pocket pages for my mini book. Score on the short side at 5.5 inches, and then you'll be folding that over and burnishing the fold. This will create the pocket page, and you'll also be able to insert a tag through the top portion of the page. You'll be doing the same to all 6 pages, burnishing the score line at the 2.5 inch mark lengthwise and folding it in half at the 5.5 inch score line and burnishing that down to create the page. Here's the binding system that I'll be using for this mini book. I'll put a link down below to Ginger's video tutorial where she shares how to create this binding system. Here I'll be putting the cover of the mini book together. I'm taking some medium weight chipboard for the front and back cover as well as the spine, and I'll be covering it with some black cardstock. I'm taking 2 sheets of 8.5 by 11 black cardstock and I'll be adhering those 2 sheets together. And this will give me enough coverage to put over the medium weight chipboard. I'm really enjoying the use of my new Creatopia. Here I added some adhesive to the chipboard pieces using my Creatopia, and I'll be adhering those chipboard pieces down onto the black cardstock so I can cover them. Again, this is the front and back cover as well as the spine. I'm using my Tim Holtz ruler and marking the center with the 0 on the Tim Holtz ruler, and I'll be using the edge to line up the chipboard piece straight and right on the center. And then from there I should be able to get the other 2 pages, the front and the back chipboard pieces, on straight as long as I have my straight edge right below the center spine. You'll want to leave at least 1/8 of an inch, maybe less, of space between the chipboard pieces, and this is so that when the pages fold, the bend doesn't have increased tension and cause the cardstock to tear. I just have a little bit of excess of black cardstock on one side, so I'm taking my craft knife and trimming off a portion of that, so I don't really need that extra piece there. Here I'm going to use my glass cutting mat and I'm going to cut the triangles off the edges where I'm going to be folding in the black cardstock, and you'll see here that I'm using the 0 again with my Tim Holtz craft ruler, and I'm lining up the 6 and the mark of the 6 to the very corner, and then just making sure there's equal measurements from one side of the 0 to the other. And that's basically how I measure off the sides and know where to cut. So I did that to all 4 sides, and here's what it looks like. I'm taking my bone folder now and I'm getting a start on the score lines right where the chipboard mark meets the black cardstock. And here I'm just giving it a good bend and creasing the bends of the book covers. It's really important that you use a good adhesive when you put the cardstock onto the chipboard, and that way it doesn't come off or start to undo once your book is pulled together. So I'm using score tape. Here I have score tape on every corner of the chipboard, and that's to make sure that the paper going down, of course, stays where the book will fold. I'm using my ATG gun just to add some adhesive to the edge of the black cardstock, but that's going to be covered with design paper. I'm just doing that just to hold it in place until the design paper is added. So just go ahead and fold in your black cardstock, and we're almost done covering the book cover here. I'm taking a piece of black cardstock just cut large enough to cover the score tape. So I'm just using score tape, putting it along the center and along the edges of the black piece of cardstock, and I'm just going to lay that down. From there, I'll take my bone folder and make sure I get the bends of the book cover started here. And I'll be putting the binding system onto the book cover later on, but I'm going to go ahead and get started with decorating the interior pages of the mini book. So here I've already cut some design paper from the Birdsong collection, and I'm edging them with the Distress ink in black soot. And you'll see that I haven't adhered down the pocket page yet, and that's to allow me to add the design paper. And I'm alternating the design paper for each page, and that way it adds a little bit of interest. I added a strip of score tape to each side of the pocket page, and this will allow the pockets to stay shut, and you can add tags and photo mats and whatnot into these pockets, and it adds a lot of great real estate for journaling and pictures and whatnot. So I'm done adding design paper to all 6 pages. Now I'll be taking each of the pages, and I'll be adding a strip of score tape to the very bottom on one side, and this is going to create a pocket so I can insert a photo mat through the top portion of the page. Now I'm creating the photo mats for the pockets of the mini album pages, and I'm using my We Are Memory Keepers corner chomper to round off the corners, and I'll be matting the design paper onto black cardstock. Really simple photo mat. Now I'm going to be doing this for each of the pages, and I'll also be adding elements from the Birdsong papers, such as the tags as you saw, and I'll be inserting those into the pockets. Here I'm adding a panel to one of the photo mats where I can just slip a tag for journaling right behind the panel, which is kind of fun. Now I'm taking my binding system, and I'll be adding score tape to each side of the strips, and I will be straddling the pocket pages over each of these strips, and that's how the pages will hold onto the binding. The binding itself will be adhered down directly to the book cover. Here I'm just burnishing down the score tape to make sure that all of it is down really, really well. And then I'll be taking the main strip off the back here, and I'll be adhering the binding system down to the spine of the book cover. Make sure you burnish down the binding system onto the spine just to make sure it's on there nice and snug. You'll see here that the pocket page fits nicely, and it straddles right over each of the strips. I'm taking some of the Birdsong papers, and I'll be laying them down in the inside of the front and back cover. I'll be using score tape to adhere the design paper down to the book cover. Now I'm adding design paper to the outer portion of my book cover, and I cut some strips for the front and back cover as well as for the spine. And I'm using score tape to adhere all of the design paper down to the book cover, and this will make sure that none of the papers come up over time. I'm going to be adding a charm to the side of my mini book, so I'm using my Big Bite to punch a hole where I'm going to insert a extra large eyelet, and I'm going to set that with my Big Bite as well. So I'm going to be hanging a charm from a brad on this mini book, and you'll see that on the completed project. And this is the perfect time to punch the hole in the binding when the pages aren't on yet. I'm taking some black Mayarts lace that we got in one of our design team packages, and I'm going to be using that as the closure for my mini book. So this will hold the front and back pages together if the book gets pretty thick. And I'll be using one of the metal brads as the sort of like the hook where I will tie in the lace. I'm going to start putting the pages onto the binding system here. And when you do that, make sure you only take the score tape off one side first and get that piece on nice. Go ahead and burnish it. And then from there, take the other piece off, and it should fold flush really nicely once you have the first part of the page lined up. And you're going to go ahead and do this for all 6 of the pages to get them on the binding system. Here I'm going to mat a picture of some birds from the Birdsong collection, and I'm going to be layering that onto some additional design paper and black cardstock, which I edged with Black Soot Distress ink. So I'm keeping the back inside cover very, very simple, not trying to make it so bulky. I fussy cut the geisha from the Birdsong paper, and I'm going to be adhering her down to the inner front cover, and I'll be using some dimensionals to pop her up a little bit to give her some dimension, and it looks like she's sort of pointing to the mini book with her fan. Here I'm adding some additional tags just for some journaling spots and from some photo mounts. And I'll be embellishing the mini book further by adding some different elements from the Birdsong paper collection. I'm going to jump to the front cover for the moment, and I'm taking a piece of Birdsong design paper that I fussy cut, and I'll be adding that as a layer on my front cover. I'm using some glossy accents to catch some of the intricate edges of the cutout, and that way it adheres down well onto the cover. Here I'm taking a Graphic 45 Staples metal tag, and I added one of the metal buttons onto the tag, and that metal button is going to hold on to the Mayarts lace to hold my mini book shut. Now with metal, I tend to use E6000 or glossy accents. This tends to hold the metal pieces down well to paper and chipboard, etc. I'm using a pencil to sort of mark where I want the metal tag to line up, and I'm using E6000, which is a really nice solid glue, to adhere the metal tag down directly to the mini book, just making sure that I line up where I added that pencil mark. And you'll see how I pull the Mayarts lace around it lines up really nicely with the metal button. I'll be adding some of the birdsong chipboard pieces to the cover of my mini book. Here I'm just trying to figure out which pieces I'm going to use and deciding where I'm going to place them. I'm taking the sentiment happiness from the coordinating 12 by 12 alphabet sheet and I'm layering it onto some black cardstock, and I'm going to trim that down so I have a nice black matting on the sentiment, and then I'll be adding that to the cover of my mini book right over the chipboard piece. Here I'm taking some petaloo flowers and I'll be adding those to the cover of my mini book, and I'll also be incorporating some I Am Roses flowers as well, just a nice variety of flowers that coordinate nicely with the papers. Now I'm just taking a Staples ornate metal key and an ornate metal keyhole and just positioning them onto the cover. These are the photo mats that will be inserted through the top pocket of each of the pocket pages, and I'm punching out the corners using my ticket punch by Stampin' Up. Thank you so much for joining me for this video tutorial. For more information about this project as well as a product list, please visit my blog or the Graphic 45 blog, and the URLs will be available in the video description. Thanks for watching.